My name is Autumn Townsend. I'm 33 years old. Last Thanksgiving, my parents gave gifts to every grandchild at the table, except mine. My sister's children each received a wrapped box with a card that read, "To the grandkids who made us proud." My daughter Lily, who is 8, looked at the empty space in front of her. My son Sam, 5 years old, asked if Santa had forgotten him. My nephew Tyler, 14, glanced over at my kids and laughed, saying, "Guess they didn't earn one." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't break down. I simply gathered my children, picked up our coats, and walked out of my parents' house. Once we got home, I sent a single message to the family group chat. Within seconds, my phone lit up, calls from my mom, my dad, and my sister Monica, one after another. But what none of them realized at that moment was this: what I chose to do next would cost them far more than any gift bag ever could. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, the channel where ordinary people take a stand, set clear boundaries, and reclaim their self-respect, one story at a time. If you've ever felt overlooked or forgotten by your own family, this story is for you. Leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe. Now, let me explain how everything led up to this. My family lives in a small town in Ohio called Millfield, with a population of about 12,000. My father, Frank, retired 3 years ago after working in county road maintenance. My mother, Diane, leads the Tuesday prayer circle at First Presbyterian Church and sees herself as a central figure in our neighborhood's social life. My older sister, Monica, married Craig Lawford, a dentist who owns his own practice, about 15 years ago. They have 3 kids, a large home, and 2 German cars parked in their driveway. I took a different path. I earned a degree in culinary arts from Columbus and got married at 24 to a man named Kyle. In public, he was charming. In private, he was controlling. He dictated when I could meet friends and monitored how I spent every dollar. When I discovered that he had removed my name from our joint checking account without even telling me, I made the decision to file for divorce. I was 28. Lily was 3. Sam was 5 months old. I moved back home. I rented a 2-bedroom apartment on Oak Street, about 14 minutes from my parents' house. I started again with a second-hand mixer and a cottage food license. I named my small home bakery Towns and Sweets, caramel apple pies, brown butter pecan tarts, lemon lavender scones. Every recipe was mine, created during late nights when the kids were asleep and the kitchen was the only place that truly felt like my own. 2 years later, I had consistent weekend orders and a slowly growing Instagram following. It wasn't anything major, but it was enough to pay the bills and enroll Lily in dance class. My parents never truly accepted my divorce. Not because they cared for Kyle, they hardly knew him. They excused his absence the same way they accepted rain as inevitable. Just something that happens. What they couldn't accept was my decision to leave the marriage. In my family, being divorced carried more weight than being unhappy. At least unhappiness stayed hidden. The change came gradually after the divorce. My mother stopped calling on Sundays. My father's monthly visits became occasional drop-ins, only when he happened to be nearby, which was almost never. Meanwhile, Monica's kids celebrated birthdays at my parents' house with full setups, bounce houses, catered trays from the deli, and around 30 guests gathered around a sheet cake with their names written in buttercream. When Bryce, Monica's youngest, turned 7, my parents spent nearly $400 just on decorations. I know this because my mother mentioned the receipt at dinner as if she were presenting an achievement. Sam turned 4 that same month. My mother told me they were struggling financially. She sent a $20 Target gift card, and it showed up 3 days late. Lily noticed, children always do. She stopped asking to go to Grandma's house and instead began wondering why Grandma never came to ours. I mentioned it once, calmly, while sitting with my parents at their kitchen table over coffee, the kids outside on the swing set. Mom, the birthday situation. Sam notices. Lily notices. Diane stirred her coffee, not meeting my eyes. Monica needs more support. Autumn, Craig works long hours. You've always been the independent one. Take it as a compliment. A compliment. That's what she called it. After that, I stopped pushing the issue. I stopped expecting anything to change. But I didn't stop showing up. Every few weeks, Lily would look at me with those wide brown eyes and ask, "Can we visit Grandma? Maybe she'll play cards with me this time." So I scaled things back. Monthly visits became holidays only, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter if the weather allowed. Just enough for my kids to believe their grandmother remembered them. Just enough to hold together a sense of peace that was already slipping. Thanksgiving morning, 6:47. The kitchen smelled of brown butter and cinnamon. Sam sat on the counter holding a wooden spoon, licking caramel from the handle. Lily sat at the table, carefully wrapping her drawing for Grandma in printer paper, a turkey made from handprints, signed in her neat second-grade cursive. I placed my salted caramel apple pie into its carrier. It was the one dish everyone requested at every family gathering. The same one Diane would serve to her prayer group and let them believe she had made. I never corrected her. It wasn't worth the effort. We packed up the minivan and drove 22 minutes across town. I turned onto Maple Lane and saw Monica's pearl-white Lexus already in the driveway, Craig's dark blue BMW parked beside it. Every light in my parents' house was on, like something out of a greeting card. Inside, the dining table was set for 10. The turkey sat in the center. Name cards were arranged in Diane's neat, looping handwriting. I pulled out Lily's chair and paused. At Tyler's seat, there was a small, sparkly silver gift bag. At Emma's, another. At Bryce's, a third. At Lily's place, just her name card. Nothing else. Sam's spot was the same. I looked at those empty spaces for a few seconds. Then I set the pie carrier down on the counter. Nobody reached for it. Nobody said thank you. Frank gave me a handshake, not a hug, more like I was a neighbor returning something I had borrowed. I told myself those bags were probably meant for later. I told myself they would give something to everyone after dinner. I told myself many things that year. Most of them turned out to be wrong. The dinner conversation was led by Diane. She talked about Monica's new kitchen countertops, imported quartz, $12,000. She talked about Craig expanding his practice with a second office on the east side of town. She mentioned Tyler making the travel soccer roster. Every topic kept circling back to Monica's family, like a dog returning to the same spot. I brought up that Towns and Sweets had been accepted for a booth at the Millfield Spring Farmers Market, 3 months away, my first real public event. I had been planning it since September. Diane shifted the conversation before I could finish. "Frank, pass the gravy. Monica, tell everyone about Bryce's science project." Monica smiled. Craig continued cutting his turkey. No one looked at me. Lily sat beside Sam, quiet. She kept glancing at the silver bags placed near the cousins' seats. Her fingers traced the edge of her empty placemat. Sam hadn't noticed yet. He was 5, still young enough to believe that if something was missing, it would probably come later. Monica leaned forward. "Autumn, have you considered going back into restaurant work? Stability, you know, benefits, health insurance for the kids." I set my fork down. "I have insurance through the marketplace." "Right," Monica replied with a polite smile. "Just thinking about the kids." Frank asked Sam what he wanted for Christmas. Before Sam could answer, Diane interrupted. "Frank, let's not talk about gifts right now." The irony of that statement didn't become clear to me until about 20 minutes later. I should have left at that point. But Sam had mashed potatoes on his chin and was laughing at something Tyler had said. For about 10 seconds, it looked like the kind of family I wanted my kids to have. 10 seconds. Diane stood before dessert. She adjusted her blouse, pressed her hands together, and addressed the table like she was delivering a formal speech. "Before we have pie, Grandpa and I have something special," she said. "A little recognition for the grandkids who made us proud this year." She walked over to Tyler's chair first and handed him a silver bag. He reached inside and pulled out a gaming headset, $80 retail, I knew, because Sam had pointed it out in a flyer the week before. Tyler smiled. Thanks, Grandma. Then it was Emma's turn. She received a jewelry making kit with real semi-precious beads. She squealed with excitement. Diane smiled proudly. Bryce got a Lego architecture set, the Statue of Liberty. He ripped open the bag and dropped the box onto the table. After that, Diane sat back down, folded her napkin, and lifted her wine glass. That was it. Sam glanced at me. His lower lip didn't shake. He looked confused, not hurt yet. He leaned closer and whispered, "Where is ours, Mama?" I tried to speak, but no words came out. Lily didn't ask. She already understood. She pulled her handprint turkey drawing halfway out of her jacket pocket, looked at it briefly, then pushed it back inside. She had decided not to give it to her grandmother anymore. Tyler placed the headset over his ears, adjusted it, glanced at Lily and Sam, and then laughed. Guess they didn't earn one. No one corrected him. Monica focused on her wine glass. Craig stared at a spot on the wall. Frank kept his eyes on his plate. Diane took a sip of her drink and stayed silent. The room filled with quiet, broken only by the sound of wrapping paper and the low hum of the football game in the next room. Meanwhile, my 5-year-old son's expression slowly changed, from confusion to a kind of understanding no child should gain at a dinner table. I looked at Lily. Her hands rested flat in her lap, completely still, the way she holds them when she is trying not to cry. Then I looked at Sam. He was staring at Tyler's headset with a look I knew too well. It was the same expression I used to have when my mother forgot my school recital. Finally, I looked at my mother. She was cutting a piece of turkey and chewing calmly, as if she believed she had just taught an important lesson. I stood up slowly and pushed my chair in. Lily, Sam, get your coats. Diane set her knife down. Autumn, sit down. You're overreacting. Get your coats, baby. We're going home. I walked toward the counter. My pie was exactly where I had left it 45 minutes earlier, untouched. No one had cut it, served it, or even moved the carrier to make space. I wrapped it in the tea towel I had brought and held it under my arm. Frank partially stood from his chair. Come on, Autumn. It's Thanksgiving. I looked at him. Not for us, Dad. Lily slid off her chair and took Sam's hand. She reached into her pocket, pulled out the handprint turkey drawing, and quietly folded it back inside. She had made it the night before with watercolors and signed it, Love, Lily, age 8. She put it away and walked toward the front door without looking back. No one followed us. I buckled Sam into his car seat. Lily got in on the other side and fastened her own seatbelt. I started the engine, reversed out of the driveway, and turned onto Maple Lane. I expected someone to come outside, a voice calling, a hand tapping on the window, something. But the porch light stayed on. The door remained closed. The drive back took 22 minutes. By minute 5, Sam had already fallen asleep, his cheek pressed against the window. Lily sat quietly with her hands in her lap, eyes fixed on the road ahead. She didn't speak until we pulled into the driveway. Mama, why doesn't Grandma like us? I turned off the engine and sat in the dark for a moment. The dashboard clock read 7:14. Grandma is confused right now, baby. That's not something you need to fix. I carried Sam inside, placed him on the couch with a blanket, and stood in the kitchen for a long while staring at my phone. The family group chat, Townsend Family Blessings, glowed at the top of my messages. 19 members, though only 5 ever posted. The last message was Diane sharing a pumpkin bread recipe 2 days earlier. I typed something short and direct. Don't invite us again. We're not your joke. I paused, then added one more line. Your gift is on the way. I didn't yet know what that meant, but I sent it anyway. Within 30 seconds, I had 4 missed calls, Mom, Dad, Monica, then Mom again. A text from Diane, you're being dramatic. Call me now. Monica texted, seriously, it was just gifts. Frank wrote, your mother is crying. I placed my phone face down on the counter, went to the fridge, and cut 2 slices of salted caramel apple pie, the same one no one touched at my parents' house. I set them on plates and placed them on the table. Lily came in and sat across from me. We ate in silence while Sam slept on the couch and my phone buzzed against the granite like something trying to get out. I didn't answer. I still didn't know what "your gift is on the way" meant, but I knew I was finished pretending. The next morning, I woke up to 47 unread messages in the group chat. Diane had written a full explanation, 4 neat paragraphs, perfectly punctuated, as if prepared in advance. Her reasoning: the gifts were for academic achievement. Tyler made the honor roll. Emma won the district spelling bee. Bryce received a citizenship award. It was meant to be motivational, she wrote. We hoped it would inspire Lily and Sam to work harder. Sam is 5. He's in preschool. His biggest accomplishment this year was learning how to zip his own jacket. Frank sent a separate message, privately. Your mom didn't mean to hurt anyone. Come for Christmas. We can talk. Monica followed with, if your kids were in more activities, they would have gotten something too. Don't blame mom for your choices. I read everything twice. Took screenshots. Saved them all. I didn't reply. At 9 a.m., I called Patty Gwynn. Patty owns the flower shop on Main Street. She's 58, originally from Houston, and the kind of person who says exactly what she means. She's known me since I moved back to Millfield. Every Friday, she buys 2 dozen lemon scones from me for her shop. I told her everything: the gift bags, the speech, Tyler's comment, and how we walked out. She was quiet for about 3 seconds. Then she said, honey, that's not tough love. That's cruelty with a name card on it. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. Save those messages, she added. All of them. You might need them. I didn't know why yet, but I saved everything. December arrived cold and quiet. No calls from Diane. No visits from Frank. The group chat stayed still, like a room after an argument, everyone waiting for someone else to speak first. I focused on towns and sweets. Holiday orders doubled compared to the previous year, mostly through word of mouth from a craft fair I did in November. I completed 73 orders in 3 weeks: pumpkin ginger tarts, cranberry almond biscotti, and my salted caramel apple pie. The same pie ignored at my parents' house was now selling out every Saturday. I applied for a spring booth at the Millfield Farmers Market. The application was 2 pages plus references. Patty wrote one. My culinary school instructor, who still remembered me after 9 years, wrote the other. I mailed it the first week of December and tried not to check the mailbox every afternoon. I also went to the county clerk's office and upgraded my cottage food license to a full food handler's permit. 12 hours of classes, $65, and a laminated certificate that I placed on the fridge next to Lily's spelling test and Sam's finger painting. On Christmas Eve, a card arrived from my parents. It was addressed to Lily and Sam. Not to me. My name wasn't on the envelope. Inside was a $25 Target gift card and a note in Diane's handwriting. Merry Christmas to our grandchildren. Love, Grandma and Grandpa. Lily looked at the card, then at me. Mama. Grandma forgot your name. She didn't forget, I said. Grandma is upset with me, baby. That's not your problem to fix. Lily nodded and returned to her coloring. Sam taped the gift card to the fridge like it was a trophy. He's 5, he doesn't understand exclusion yet. I hope he never does. January. I dropped Sam off at Little Stars preschool on a Tuesday morning. Another parent, Karen Bledsoe, whose child is in Sam's class, gave me a look I couldn't quite read, part sympathy, part curiosity. I heard about your Thanksgiving, she said. Your mom told my mom at church. I didn't ask what version Diane was telling. I didn't need to. Over the next 2 weeks, the narrative became clear. Diane had reshaped the story, and it was spreading through First Presbyterian like a familiar song. In her version, Autumn abandoned the family on Thanksgiving. She broke her mother's heart. She refuses to let Diane see the grandchildren. She is punishing her parents for loving Monica's kids. No mention of the gift bags. No mention of Tyler's comment. No acknowledgement that 2 children under 10 sat at a table and received nothing while their cousins were celebrated 6 feet away. Orders began to slow. 2 regular customers canceled. 1 texted, "Sorry, I just don't want to get involved." That night, I sat at my kitchen table reviewing my order spreadsheet. December, 73 orders. January so far, 41. 2 major weekly clients gone. Revenue down 19% in 3 weeks. This wasn't just about guilt anymore. My mother was affecting my livelihood. Patty called that evening. "People are talking," she said. "You need to know. Diane told the Tuesday prayer group you abandoned the family." I opened my laptop, created a folder labeled documentation, and started a new spreadsheet titled Cancelled Orders. I logged every name, every date, every reason given. I didn't fully understand what I was building, but I was building something. Late January, Patty sent me a screenshot. No message, just an arrow pointing down. It was Monica's Instagram. A new account, Lawford Kitchen. Custom cakes, pies, and pastries for every occasion. The bio read, "Family recipes made with love." The branding, warm gold and cream tones, was strikingly similar to mine. I scrolled through the posts. Salted caramel apple pie. Brown butter pecan tarts. Lemon lavender scones. Every single item from my menu. The photos were taken on marble countertops that probably cost more than my rent. Monica had blocked me. I could only see what Patty forwarded. The comments were enthusiastic. "These look amazing. Do you deliver? I love that you're preserving family traditions." Monica replied each time. "Thank you. My grandmother taught me." Our grandmother didn't bake. She lived in Dayton, played bridge, and passed away when I was 12. She never cooked with either of us. I checked the county food license database. No listing for Lawford Kitchen. No cottage food permit. No food handler's certification. She was operating without any legal documentation. But that wasn't what made my hands shake. It was her latest post. A photo of my salted caramel apple pie, the recipe I perfected over 14 test batches and 3 months. The caption read, "A recipe that's been in our family for generations." Below it, a comment from Diane. "So proud of my girl. We can only invest in one family, Autumn." She had said that to me 6 months ago when I asked her to share my bakery flyer at church. Now I finally understood what she meant. February. I contacted a small business attorney in the next town over, Rachel Kim. Her office was above a dry cleaner on Route 9, and her initial consultation was free for 30 minutes. I brought a folder. A thick one. Rachel reviewed it calmly, like someone used to handling difficult situations. "Cottage food license," she said, flipping a page. "Townsend Sweets, registered 2 years ago, 153 order receipts, each one carefully timestamped. 28 Instagram posts spanning 22 months, all showing the original recipe photos. My culinary school notebook, handwritten and dated, with my instructor's notes marked in red pen. Customer emails. County permit upgrade paperwork." She looked up at me from the folder. "How long has your sister been operating?" "About 3 weeks. Does she have any formal training?" "She took a cake decorating class at the community center in 2019. Rachel closed the folder. "You have common law trademark through prior use. If she registers a name or product line that is confusingly similar to yours, you can file an opposition." She pulled up Monica's Instagram on her phone, scrolling through menu posts and comparing them side by side with my records. "This is not competition," she said. "This is appropriation. Keep documenting." Every post, every comment where she claims these are family recipes. Every order she accepts. If she files a trademark, we file opposition the same week. I asked what it would cost. She said her hourly rate was $175, but for an opposition filing, it was a flat $1,500. She told me to think about it. I drove home with the windows down, even though it was February and 38 degrees. For the first time in months, I felt something I had nearly forgotten. Certainty. Late February. My inbox chimed with a confirmation from the Millfield Farmers Market. My booth was approved, slot 14, positioned between Patty's flower stand and the honey vendor. Opening day, the third Saturday of March. That same afternoon, I received a call from the market coordinator. Her name was Deborah, and her tone suggested she was trying hard to stay neutral. Autumn, I want to give you a heads up. We received another application for a baked goods booth. The product line has significant overlap with yours. She did not say Monica's name. She did not need to. Is the applicant licensed? I asked. A pause. That is between the applicant and the county. Monica had applied to the market. Someone had told her about my booth. 3 months of silence from my family, and now my sister was setting up shop 3 tables away. Her Instagram following had climbed to 900. Mine was just over 600. She had Craig's dental practice income supporting her marketing, professional product photography, vinyl banners, a website with online ordering, things I could not yet afford. I opened my order spreadsheet. January, 41 orders. February so far, 22. Revenue down 44% from December. That week, a customer messaged me. Your sister says she taught you how to bake. Is that true? I stared at the message for a full minute. No, I went to culinary school. I developed every recipe myself. Oh, she made it sound like you copied her. I screenshotted the conversation, saved it to my documentation folder, and sent a copy to Rachel. 44%. That was not a seasonal dip. That was someone with financial backing and my recipes pulling customers away. Early March, Patty called me on a Wednesday evening. Her voice was tight, urgent. Come to the shop right now. There is something you need to see. I arrived in 9 minutes. Patty stood behind the counter, holding her phone out like evidence. Her daughter Jess was friends with Monica's babysitter, a college student named Alyssa, who watched Tyler, Emma, and Bryce twice a week. Alyssa had been scrolling through her screenshots and accidentally sent a batch to Jess instead of her roommate. Group chat screenshots. The wrong group chat. Not the Townsend family thread. A different one. 3 members, Diane, Frank, and Monica. The chat was titled Planning Committee. The messages were dated 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Diane, get gift bags for the 3 kids, not Autumn's. She needs to understand there are consequences for pulling away. Monica, Craig can get the headsets wholesale. I'll handle the rest. Frank, is this really necessary? Diane, if she wants back in this family, she needs to show up properly. This will motivate her. Then, the day after Thanksgiving, after the walkout, after my message, one more text from Diane. She'll come crawling back by Christmas. I read those screenshots standing in a flower shop that smelled like eucalyptus and cold water. My hands went numb. My chest felt heavy. It was never about earning approval. It was never about achievement. It was a coordinated effort, if deliberate and planned, using my children, aged 8 and 5, to pressure me into returning to a family where obedience defined belonging. Patty said nothing. She placed her hand on my shoulder and waited until I could breathe steadily again. If you have ever discovered that people you trusted were planning to hurt you, organizing it like a project, you understand this feeling. You understand why I continued. If you are still here, leave a comment and share whether you have ever uncovered the truth about someone close to you. Subscribe if you have not already, because what happened at the farmer's market is where this story truly begins. March 1st. Rachel called before I finished my morning coffee. Your sister filed a state trademark application, Lawford Kitchen Artisan Sweets and Pastries. The product list overlaps entirely with your registered menu. I set my mug down. Can she do that? Anyone can file. The question is whether it holds, and it will not. Your prior use documentation is solid. Every receipt, every post, every license predates hers by at least 20 months. Rachel filed an opposition on behalf of Towns and Sweets within 5 days. The fee was $1,500. I paid it using the savings I had set aside for a commercial mixer. The mixer could wait. My name could not. That same week, Monica posted a photo of her version of my salted caramel apple pie. Warm lighting. Marble counter. A single slice plated with a sprig of rosemary. Caption, my grandmother's recipe perfected. 47 likes. Comments filled with hearts and order requests. I opened my recipe notebook, the one I used in culinary school. Page 34. Salted caramel apple pie. Final version dated in my instructor's red ink 18 months before Monica posted her first photo. I photographed every page, front and back. Uploaded them to a time-stamped cloud folder and shared access with Rachel. My grandmother did not create this recipe. She made simple dishes and store-bought rolls. My sister was building a brand on a false claim. And my mother was responding with heart emojis on every post. Rachel's words returned to me from our first meeting. Prior use outweighs filing date. Every receipt you saved is a brick in your wall. I had many bricks. Mid-March. The Millfield Farmers Market held a preliminary vendor meeting at the community center. 32 booths confirmed. Deborah reviewed setup times, health regulations, and parking details. I arrived early and arranged my sample table, 3 pies sliced neatly, printed menus, business cards with a QR code for Instagram, a clean white tablecloth, and hand-lettered chalkboard signs. Monica entered 20 minutes late. She carried a rolled vinyl banner and a box of samples in coordinated gold packaging. She saw me, paused briefly, then chose a table at the opposite end of the room. Other vendors noticed. Dan, the honey seller who had been there for 11 years, leaned toward Patty during the break. Those two have the same menu. That is not a coincidence. Patty sipped her coffee. No, it is not. After the meeting, Deborah pulled me aside near the water fountain. I need both of you to coexist on market day. Any business dispute is not something I can mediate. I nodded. Understood. She paused, glanced toward the door Monica had just exited, then added quietly. For what it is worth, your cottage food license predates the other application by 23 months. That is public record. I checked. She walked away before I could respond. Patty was waiting near my car, holding a bouquet of sunflowers wrapped in cellophane. She handed them to me. For your table on opening day. Let your work speak. It will be louder than any gossip in this town. I placed the sunflowers on the passenger seat and drove home with the windows slightly open, even though it was only 42 degrees. Late March. Rachel called with an update. The state trademark office flagged your sister's application. Your opposition is under formal review. Based on your documentation, 2 years of dated receipts, 28 Instagram posts, your license, your culinary notebook, your case is strong. Strong. She said it carefully, professionally, with just enough reassurance to show progress. Orders began to return. 2 former customers reached out that same week. One was a woman named Claire, who used to buy a pie every Sunday for her book club. I saw your original Instagram posts, she said. I reviewed the dates carefully. I hadn't realized your sister actually started after you, but she did, by about 20 months. That made me feel terrible. I had ordered from her twice without knowing. That same week, she ordered 3 pies and even told her book club about them. I never brought up Monica. I didn't mention the trademark dispute, the group chat screenshots, or the rumors being spread. Instead, I kept posting consistently, simple process shots from my kitchen at 5 a.m. Sam with flour dusted across his nose. Lily carefully arranging pie slices on a sample tray for the market. It was real life. My life. And slowly, my Instagram following began to grow, 800, then 900, then 1,100. A local food blogger named Tess reached out. She said she loved the story behind Towns and Sweets, a single mother, a home baker, with a culinary school background. She asked if she could write a profile. The blog post went live in the second week of March. It was honest, detailed, and direct. It included my cottage food license date, my culinary degree, and the 2 years I spent building the business from nothing. It didn't mention Monica at all. It didn't need to. The post reached 6,000 views in just 7 days, and the comments followed. This is what real entrepreneurship looks like. For the first time, people outside my circle were seeing what my own family had always ignored. Diane showed up at my front door on a Wednesday evening. No call, no notice, just her car in the driveway and the sound of her knocking on the screen door. I hadn't seen her in 4 months. She looked thinner. Her hair was freshly colored, and her lipstick was precise. That alone told me this visit was intentional. She spoke from the porch. We need to talk about this legal situation. You need to drop it. I didn't invite her inside. I stepped out and closed the door behind me so the kids wouldn't hear. Which legal situation? I asked. This issue with Monica. The trademark nonsense. You're embarrassing the family. Which part is embarrassing? I replied. The part where she took my recipes, or the part where you supported her? Her jaw tightened. Nobody took anything. You got those recipes from my kitchen. They're family recipes. I developed them in culinary school, I said. I have notebooks with dated instructor notes. She shifted her stance and lowered her voice slightly, the tone she uses when moving from confrontation to guilt. I'm your mother. I carried you. And now you're choosing a pie business over your family? I looked at her calmly. No anger, no hesitation. You chose gift bags for 3 children and left out 2. That was your decision, Mom, not mine. Something changed in her expression. Not regret, recognition. The look of someone realizing they are caught in their own reasoning with no way out. She didn't respond. She walked back to her car, drove out of the driveway, and turned onto Oak Street without another word. I watched until her taillights disappeared. Then I went back inside and finished frosting a batch of lemon lavender scones for Saturday's market. Frank called 2 days later. It was the first time since Thanksgiving. His voice sounded drained, as if the exhaustion went beyond the physical. He cleared his throat twice before speaking. Autumn, you need to understand something. Your mother isn't sleeping. She's not eating properly. This situation is affecting her. I leaned against the kitchen counter. Sam was in the living room watching cartoons. Lily sat at the table doing homework. I kept my voice low. Dad, she planned the gift exclusion in a group chat 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I have the screenshots. Silence followed, the kind that feels like a door quietly shutting. Where did you get those? He asked. Does that matter? More silence. I could hear his breathing. Your mother just wants you to come home, Autumn. Home isn't a place where my children are used as leverage, I said. She says she loves them, but she excluded them and told people I abandoned the family. That's not love, Dad. That's control. His voice cracked slightly. What do you want me to do? That sentence told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't asking because he intended to act. He was asking because he never learned how to. At 64, retired, healthy, present, he was still waiting for someone else to define the right move. Ask yourself why you've never said no to her, I replied. Ask yourself why you allowed it. He hung up. I cried that night after the kids were asleep. Not because I lost my father, I had lost him years ago without saying it out loud. I cried because he had just confirmed it. The week before the Millfield Farmers Market grand opening, I sat on the living room floor with Rachel's folder spread across the carpet like a case file. Trademark opposition, filed, acknowledged, under review. Prior use evidence, 43 dated invoices. 28 Instagram screenshots with timestamps. My cottage food license. 8 customer testimonials, each signed, dated, and detailed. Rachel had organized everything into a single laminated timeline. On the left, Towns and Sweets, established October 2023. On the right, Loftford Kitchen, established January 2026. Below each heading were dates, posts, and receipts, 23 months of difference clearly laid out in 12-point font. I hadn't asked her to create it. She said she thought I might want something tangible. That Thursday night, I baked test batches. Sam sat on the counter, licking caramel from a spoon, the same spot, the same spoon as Thanksgiving morning. Lily folded napkins stamped with the Towns and Sweets logo, pressing each one carefully and aligning them perfectly. "Mama, are we going to sell a lot?" she asked. "I hope so, baby." "More than Aunt Monica?" I paused, hand still on the dough. Lily looked at me with an expression far too mature for an 8-year-old. She knew. She had been watching closely. She understood more than I had given her credit for. "We're going to sell what we make, and we're going to be proud of it." She nodded and returned to stamping. I placed Rachel's folder into my market tote, the laminated timeline, the evidence binder, the culinary school notebook. I was not planning a confrontation. I was planning a booth. Still, I packed the folder the way you keep an umbrella in your car when the sky feels uncertain. Just in case. Saturday morning, 5:45. Millfield Town Square was still dark, lit only by the pavilion's string lights and the headlights of vendor trucks arriving one by one. I unloaded the minivan, 4 coolers filled with sliced pies, 2 trays of tarts, chalkboard signs, sample plates, and the tablecloth. Sam stayed home with Patty's husband, Doug, who had volunteered to babysit. Lily came with me. She insisted. My booth was slot 14. I started with the white tablecloth, then set up the chalkboard menus, followed by ceramic sample plates with toothpicks. Patty's sunflowers, the same ones she had given me after the vendor meeting, sat in a mason jar at the corner. Lily taped a drawing to the front of the table, Towns and Sweets made with love. She had drawn it the night before using colored pencils. 3 booths to my left, Monica arrived at 6:30. She had a professional vinyl banner, gold-lettered signage, and matching gold boxes stacked neatly in a branded crate. Craig's BMW idled at the curb while she unloaded. He handed her a check and drove off without stepping out. She did not look at me. I did not look at her. By 9, foot traffic had picked up. I sold 14 pie slices within the first hour. People stopped, tasted, and asked questions. "How long have you been doing this? Where can I place an order for a party? Is this the pie I saw on that food blog?" Around 9:30, a woman visited Monica's booth, tasted her salted caramel apple pie, then came to mine and did the same. She paused, looking back and forth between both tables. "These taste identical," she said. I met her gaze. "They should. It's my recipe." She glanced at Monica's banner, then mine, then at the dates on my laminated menu. After a moment, she bought a whole pie from me and walked away. 10:30. Diane and Frank entered the market through the south entrance. Diane wore her Sunday blazer with pale blue pearl buttons. Frank followed behind her as he usually did, close enough to appear involved, distant enough to avoid responsibility. They went straight to Monica's booth. "There's my girl," Diane said, embracing her. "Doesn't this look wonderful?" The hug lasted longer than necessary. It was deliberate. For the next 20 minutes, they stayed at Monica's booth. Diane handed out samples to passers-by. Frank greeted familiar faces from church. They played the role of proud parents with practiced precision. They did not acknowledge me. Not a glance. Not a nod. My booth was just 40 feet away, yet they acted as if I did not exist. A woman from Diane's prayer group, someone I recognized from a Christmas potluck years earlier, stopped at my table. She leaned in slightly. Your mother told everyone Monica started this business first. Is that true? I reached into my tote, pulled out the laminated timeline, and placed it flat on the table. Townsend Suites, October 2023. Lawford Kitchen, January 2026. 23 months apart. Dates. Licenses. Social media records. She read it carefully, her eyes scanning each line. Then she looked up at me, down toward Monica's booth, and back again. Lord have mercy, she said quietly. She bought a tart, and told the woman behind her in line. By 11, I had sold out of pie slices. Monica still had inventory. At 11:15, Craig returned with Tyler. Tyler noticed Lily behind my table. He started to smirk, then stopped and looked away. I want to pause here, because some might expect a different reaction. You might think I should have raised my voice or reacted emotionally. But I learned something about my mother a long time ago. She feeds on reactions. The louder you become, the more leverage she gains. So I stayed composed. I let the evidence remain on the table and allowed people to review it themselves. At 11:15, Monica walked toward my booth. I saw her approaching from about 20 feet away, gold apron, tight smile, hands clasped as if preparing for a formal exchange. She stopped at the edge of my table, close enough for nearby vendors to hear. You need to stop telling people I copied you, she said. This is embarrassing. I haven't told anyone anything, Monica. Then why is everyone looking at your timeline like it's evidence? Because it is. She shifted her stance and crossed her arms. Those are family recipes, Autumn. Mom taught both of us. Mom told me last week they were family recipes. You told Instagram your grandmother taught you. Which is correct? Her expression changed. The color rose from her collar upward. She leaned closer. You've always been jealous of me. She paused, not because she had nothing left to say, but because she noticed people listening. Dan, the honey vendor, had stopped mid-pour. Patty stood still behind her flower buckets. The woman from the prayer group remained at my booth, holding her tart. Several others had paused nearby. Monica looked at them, then at me. She said nothing. I remained calm. I reached into my tote, pulled out Rachel's folder, the one I had packed just in case, and placed it on the table between us. I didn't speak. The folder sat there, organized and clipped neatly. I opened it with steady hands. This is my cottage food license, registered October 2023. These are 153 order receipts, each date stamped. These are 28 Instagram posts from the last 22 months showing my original recipes. I turned a page. This is my culinary school notebook. Page 34. Salted caramel apple pie, final version, dated and signed by my instructor. I placed the laminated timeline beside it. Left column. Right column. 23 months of documented work versus 3 months of replicated content. The State Trademark Office has already flagged your application due to my prior use filing. My attorney submitted the opposition in early March. Monica stared at the folder. This is ridiculous. You're being unreasonable. It's not unreasonable, Monica. It's documented proof. Diane pushed through the small crowd that had formed, about 15 to 20 people. What are you doing? Stop making a scene. I kept my focus on the table. I'm not making a scene, Mom. I'm showing the truth. I removed one final sheet from the folder and placed it in front of them. The planning committee group chat screenshots. Messages from 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Diane, gift bags for the 3 kids, not Autumn's. Monica, Craig can get headsets wholesale. Frank, is this really necessary? Diane, this will motivate her. And the final message, sent the night I left. She'll come crawling back by Christmas. Diane's expression changed completely. The crowd fell silent. Monica spoke first. She turned to the group, attempting to regain control. She's lying. She's always been jealous. Ma'am, the woman with the tart interrupted, these documents have dates. Monica stopped. She looked at Craig. He had been standing behind her, holding a reusable bag. He looked at the folder, then at Monica, and took a quiet step back. His expression said enough. He hadn't known. Not about the recipes, the trademark issue, or the messages. Tyler stood beside him, silent for the first time since Thanksgiving. Diane made one last attempt. She stepped closer. Autumn, please. You're damaging this family in front of everyone. I didn't damage it, Mom. I just stopped hiding it. Her hands trembled slightly. Her voice lowered. I just wanted you to meet us again. For a brief moment, it felt genuine. Then she straightened and said, none of this would have happened if you had just come to Christmas. The moment passed. She could not separate care from control. And I was no longer waiting for that to change. Deborah, the market coordinator, stepped forward with her clipboard. I've reviewed the vendor applications and county licensing records. Ms. Townsend's cottage food license predates the competing application by 23 months. The overlapping product descriptions have been flagged, and the matter will be forwarded to the County Food Safety Office. The meaning was clear. Monica's operation was under review. She said nothing. She returned to her booth. Craig followed. They packed up quietly, first the banner, then the boxes, then the untouched samples. Tyler carried a folding table to the car. Diane and Frank left through the south entrance, as they had arrived. At my booth, a line began to form. 12 people, some regulars, some new customers who had witnessed everything. One woman bought a whole pie and said, I'm telling everyone I know about this place. Patty stood nearby, arms crossed, smiling. Let your work speak, right? I nodded, though my throat felt tight, not from anger, but from being acknowledged without expectation. Lily had been watching the entire time from behind the booth, sitting on an overturned milk crate with her colored pencils. During everything, she had drawn something new. She held it up. Assigned, Towns and Sweets. We earned it. I looked at her and nodded. Yes, we did. That evening, the market closed. Coolers empty. Tablecloth folded. The sunflowers slightly wilted, but still bright enough to keep. I drove home the same 22-minute route. Sam had fallen asleep at Patty's house and stayed asleep as Doug carried him to the car. He fell asleep the same way he had on the drive home from Thanksgiving, his cheek resting against the window, trusting that wherever we were headed would be safe. When we got home, I placed him on the couch, covered him with a blanket, made tea, and opened my phone. The Towns and Family Blessings group chat was sitting at the top of my messages. 31 unread. I chose not to open them. Instead, I typed one message, I wish you well, but we are done. Do not contact me or my children. If you respect us at all, you will respect this boundary. I sent it, and then I left the group chat. I blocked Diane's number. I blocked Monica's number. I kept Frank unblocked, not because I expected him to change. Expectation is a debt you place on yourself. I left that door slightly open because sometimes, people choose to come back honestly. He had not earned that opportunity yet, but I was not ready to say he never would. The phone stayed silent. No calls, no vibrations, no messages trying to break through. For the first time since Thanksgiving, the silence did not feel like punishment. It felt like peace. I walked into the kitchen, cut 2 slices of salted caramel apple pie, and placed them on the table. Lily came in, still holding her new sign, and sat across from me. Same chairs, same table, same pie. Mama, are we going to be okay? Yes, Lily. We already are. She took a bite. I took a bite. The house was quiet, and this time, the quiet belonged to us. By May, 2 months after the market, Towns and Sweets had secured a regular booth. Every Saturday, slot 14. Patty stood on my left with her flowers, and Dan on my right with his honey. We set up at 5:45 each morning, and most weeks, I sold out by noon. Revenue had increased by 200% from the January low. Not because of any confrontation, but because the food was consistent and customers kept returning. Rachel called one Tuesday with an update. The trademark opposition had gone through. My sister's application was rejected based on prior use. She could still use the name Lawford Kitchen, but she could not register overlapping product categories. My menu was now protected. I thanked her, paid the final invoice, $400 for the follow-up filing, set the phone down, and looked at the refrigerator. Lily's spelling test was still taped there, next to Sam's finger painting and my laminated food handler certificate. Monica's Instagram had gone quiet. Her last post was 3 weeks earlier. No new orders, no captions about family recipes or traditions, just silence. Diane had not reached out. No text, no card, no visit at the screen door. Frank sent one message in late April, "I am sorry." I did not stop it. I read it. I did not reply, but I also did not delete it. In May, I began a new tradition. I called it Towns and Thanksgiving. Not in November, in May. Because there is no reason to wait for a specific date to sit down and be grateful. Patty and Doug came. Lily set the table. Sam placed a paper crown on the neighbor's dog, who wandered in through the back fence. I went to the dollar store and bought 2 sparkly silver gift bags. I filled them with homemade caramel apples and hand-painted cards. One bag went at Lily's seat. One at Sam's. Sam picked his up. "Mama, is this for me?" "Every gift at this table is for you, baby. Always." He opened it with the excitement of Christmas morning. Lily opened hers quietly, read the card, and placed it in her pocket, the way she keeps things that matter. I used to believe that family meant showing up, no matter what. No matter how you were treated. No matter how small you felt. No matter how empty their gestures became. I do not believe that anymore. Family means showing up for the people who show up for you. My parents had 33 years to choose differently. They chose group chats, appearances, and gossip over their own grandchildren. I chose my children. I chose my work. I chose myself. And I would make the same choice again. That is my story, one Thanksgiving, one decision to walk away, one folder that changed everything. If this reminded you that your boundaries are not selfish, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.